Okay. So here we are. It's July 2025. What happened? Whoa, jeez. Yeah, the Change Optimist podcast has been on hiatus for 6 months. Can you believe that? 6 months. I don't know what happened in those 6 months. But we are back. And today I have an interview, conversation really with my friend Steve Barker. Steve, well, I'm not going to say anymore. I'm just going to let you listen and enjoy this conversation with my friend Steve. Oh, and there we are. We are recording. Steve Barker, have you really never done this before? I thought you did this before. It was just a shitty experience, is what you're telling me. That was, it didn't turn out good. That's the.
Yeah, you have to be gentle. This is my first time.
Oh, whoa. Yeah, you went there. You never forget your first time, usually because it sucks. But that's true for so many things in life, like most things, in fact. I wanted to do this podcast with you for a few reasons. And really, it stems from like, we talk all the time. Listeners, audience, Steve and I talk all of the time. A lot sometimes that's when one or both of us are driving, but also we have this 2 ongoing threads in WhatsApp. You're a big WhatsApp guy. You're a big WhatsApp guy. I feel like some of what we talk about in those chats should be shared. Either because it might be useful or because it's just fucking hilarious for people. Like, it's just kind of fucking hilarious. Um, but let's take it back. Let's dial it back. How did we meet? Where did we meet? I vaguely remember. But why don't you give me your version of that story and then I'll tell you if you're wrong or not.
Okay. We're going back now to
All the way.
all the way to the heady times of 2018, I
Yeah,
believe.
maybe late
Pre
2018,
pre-COVID,
early 2019, in fact.
early 2019. Yeah, maybe February.
Yeah.
And we were in San Francisco for NADA in my memory. You're looking at me like I'm totally off
No,
the wall.
no. Or I mean, that's just how I look at you, but, that's also true. It's also accurate.
NADA
And
and
for the for what do they say on SmartList? Like, for, your sister, somebody's
oh,
sister,
Tracy.
for
For
Tracy.
Tracy.
For Tracy, what is NADA? What is NADA?
NADA is the National Auto Dealers Association conference, which is the largest automotive conference for tier three and for OEMs that we do for dealers in the world.
I've only been to NADA twice in my lifetime, which is surprising to some people. People figure I should have been there more than that, but both times I've been drunk with you.
I mean, yeah, I don't know what that says, but yeah, so it was NADA in San Fran, and we did not know each other.
No,
I had started working for a new organization called Lead Box, and it was evening time, which is a fun time to party. And I thought, hey, I should reach out to this Google guy who is in the automotive spheres. I've heard the name, never met him, and see what's going on. And I thought, you know what? I'll see if this Google guy wants to go for a drink or dinner. He's from Google. He'll be busy. There's no way he's going to say yes. So I'll shoot my shot and see what happens. And lo and behold, I guess you didn't have plans or something because we ended up meeting up.
I really struggle to make friends, Steve. So, no, I that was such a the thing about NADA, especially for Googlers in Canada, there isn't much of a reason to go. Even if you're working in tier 3, there's only gonna be a smattering of Canadian dealers there. So, I think historically, it was very difficult to justify why, um, and the the real reason I was there was an event that was put in by our global team in Mountain View the day before NADA to try and capture some of the interest of dealers going, which kinda worked, kinda didn't work, and they, very last minute, had reached out to me and said, "Hey, do you wanna bring some Canadian dealers?" And I was like, "I've got 4 weeks to get people to San Francisco," and they're like, "Yeah, it's an event, you should come." It was basically, um anyone I knew, which was not a lot of direct dealer people at the time, by name who I could call and felt like, because still at that time in my Google experience, dealers didn't really wanna talk to me or hang out with me. Like, that was not a there wasn't a thing there, and, but I called 4 dealer people I knew, and all 4 said yes, and then I dragged in one agency person who, was like the tier 2, but, did a lot of work with the dealer community for that particular brand, and like, "Here are my 5 people," and, those 5 people all came down and we hung out the day before, and in fact, I got there the night before that and went out for dinner with one of them, so it's kind of like I'd already done the things I was supposed to do at NADA, and then when you weren't alone, when you and Ian reached out, I was like, "Okay." Like, I'm done the things I was supposed to do, and now I don't know what I'm doing here. But then my entire day, that day was full of things, um, like people reaching out sometimes. There was also a large contingent? Contingent, not contingency, of US Googlers, and so I met a bunch of them in the afternoon, and then one of the Canadian dealers and we went to a bunch of the show, like, we saw a lot of the conference stuff together, and then I met up with another, woman in a company that does a lot of work for Ford in Canada, and I was still very much associated with Ford, and we toured around for a bit, and, yeah, and at one point before I bumped into you guys or met up with you guys, because it wasn't really a bump into, somehow I ended up in the penthouse at the Fairmont in a Honda party, which was really delightful, and with no good reason to be there, like, no real justification for being there, but there I was with another Canadian, and we were like, "Why are we here? How did we get here?" was the question of
I think that's one of the most interesting parts of NADA, and I try to explain it to my wife and friends when we come back, but it's like you roll around to the most beautiful restaurants, bars, hotels, penthouses, and you wander in, and everything just happens to be free. And there's gorgeous drinks and wine and food, and there doesn't seem to be a lot of rhyme or reason to it. And then you come back thinking San Francisco is the greatest place on earth. And then other people go there without that experience and
and they're like
don't have the same
They're like,
thought.
"It kinda smells like pee." Like, it kinda big parts of it seem to smell like urine, and I don't know if it's as nice as you say it is.
Yeah.
And but I also see, this is why, and so, again, listeners, Steve and I talk all the time. Um, I got another ad because it's not too late, Steve. We could still go to the National Foam Conference.
Oh, right.
And
We still have
yep,
time.
we
Yes.
still have time, it's not too late. It's
We
free to
still
get
have
it.
time.
So, I was doing some foam research as you do, and now I'm being aggressively remarketed to by an event that is in Detroit that is, all about foam, which sounds insane and ludicrous, but they're very good at their digital marketing, and we have literally seriously discussed going, which, kind of is a testament to how much of a weirdo I am. But it's also because 'cause we've had such good experiences at things like NADA, right? That it would be weirdly fun to be a conference crasher.
Think we would have a blast at the foam conference, but I will say I reached out to my good friend and cousin, Mark Zuccaroni, who makes furniture, and tried to get him roped in. He buys a lot of foam. He's like, if you if you've seen one piece of foam, you've seen them all. No way I'm going to that. So he kind of shot us down.
I I mean, I'd like to see for myself. I think seeing is believing. I think there might be more types of foam than he knows. Then there might be
That's
a
what I'm
whole
saying. It
there's
could be
a
a whole
whole
new thing
universe,
he's never even heard of, right? It
whole new universe.
blow his mind.
That's like okay, I'm not gonna start quoting Will Ferrell, but, an old school. That was the
I know
but
exactly where you're
you
going.
know where I'm going? Yeah. Maybe there's some sort of foam I've never even seen before. Like, I can't even imagine what it is, and
There's only one way to find out. We have to go to Foam Fest.
it's not too late. Um, okay, yeah, and so we went out for dinner, and then but I think that year, we became fast friends. That was a fun night, and then I think I was in your town, Vancouver, like 3
Yes.
or 4 more times that year. Like,
Well
there
well, I remember we brought you out to meet some tier 3 dealers, and for Tracy, tier 3 would be like, a local dealership like ABC Ford or XYZ Mercedes. That was kind of your first foray into some of those meetings, and I remember some very interesting, feedback we received from our lovely dealer customers. I don't know if you recall that.
what was the feedback? What was the feedback?
Well, there was a few. My favorite was, "I would rather light my money on fire than give it
Events.
to you."
That was in the meeting, though. That wasn't like
Yeah.
that wasn't host meeting feedback. That was like literally that's like versus giving money to Google or digital advertising in general. We met a general manager who was like, I would rather put my money in in a pile in the lot and set it on fire. And I've used that since because I'm like, if you did that and then filmed it, like that would be incredible viral content on TikTok and like Reels and YouTube. Like if he had actually, if he ironically put his money where his fire was, um,
Yeah.
that could have been a very effective tactic, but the he also so many things were said, like because I came in that particular meeting because that was, like, the meeting before the meeting, I was just quiet for a long time, which is rare for me. I sometimes struggle to shut up, and he actually commented on that. He was like, "This asshole hasn't even said anything yet." That was funny, and I was like, I'm just here to learn. I'm just listening to
Neutral
see."
neutral observer,
Yeah,
neutral observer. I come in peace, but I do remember leaving that, and you were kinda like, "Holy shit." It's like, "Is that an anomaly, or is that what it's like?" I'm like, "That's kinda what it's like," and you're like, "Wow, this is a lot different than tier 1," which for Tracy would be like talking to Ford OEM
it it
directly.
it was good. I mean, I'd had some of those experiences already working with the Ford dealers that I learned to get to know and love, like, and so many of those interactions became the content or the, what's a good word? Fodder? The bullshit I put into decks, into presentations to talk about later. It was the gift that keeps on giving. But like though those that trip to that initial set of dealer meetings um, in Vancouver was quite memorable for a number of reasons. And then I was back for Think Dealer. We did Think Dealer in the fall. And I think there was one other trip that Ryan came on that Ryan and I um before, maybe late 2019, we were out, talking with one of the auto groups in Vancouver, and so there were at least, like I think I was in Vancouver at least 3 times that year, and I met up with you probably, like, 5 or 6 times because then you were here for Think Auto, and you were in Toronto for some other work or for some other reason, so, like, I might have seen you more than I saw my own son in 2019. I mean, that's an exaggeration, but
That
not
was a good year.
it was a great year. It's such a great year. All my friends say so. Um, yeah, and so you were, busy putting the leads in the box or taking the leads out of the box. I don't know
Putting the
which.
leads in the box, and I remember because that Think Dealer event was coming, and I was, so concerned that we wouldn't fill that room. I actually brute forced I went to every, like, Lower Mainland website. I scraped all of the dealer information, emailed and called them all because I was like, "If these guys show up and it's empty, I'm gonna look like an asshole."
But there
And
was so this was 2 there were 2 events because there was the one that we organized that we did at some weird venue on the island, and then there was the Connect event that the company
Yes,
you were working
that was at
for
Hotel Georgia.
it was
Yeah,
that
that's right.
yeah, yeah. So this is why I'm like, in a fairly short amount of time, like, you and I hung out, like, at least every other month that year. Like, we were together and at the same time, also in the face of a lot of car dealers, which was a lot of fun, and especially as I
Trial
was
by fire.
trial by fire, literally, like, setting the money on fire in the parking lot. Um, and then, COVID happened, and well, we also though, we would be remiss if we didn't talk about our road trip, the the Calgary to Edmonton road trip, which was unexpected and so much fun. I still have pictures of Ryan. I didn't create a montage. I should probably create a photo book and send it back to him. But I like tried to take candid photos of Ryan everywhere we went. Sometimes when he wasn't paying attention, so like if he was just like hard at work on a laptop in a hotel lobby or driving, ran 2500 or something in it or whatever enormous vehicle we would rent in Alberta. Um, because that's fun for me. That was fun for me.
That was a blast. And where did we stop? Jay recommended for burgers, so, like, world
Some
famous burger stuff.
I don't in Red Deer, I think it
Yeah.
was. It was I don't remember the name. We would have to Google it or ask ChatGPT, whichever would get us an answer faster. But yeah, we stopped for burgers and then we kept driving and then we got to Edmonton and then we went out for cocktails. That was the and I think that was the we got into a deep conversation about the at various whiskey cocktails, um,
Boulevardiers, yeah.
the Boulevardier, yeah, which became one of Ryan's favorites.
I know, we converted
Yeah.
them. I'm very impressed with that.
But then you stop putting the leads in the box. You stop putting
Yeah, we did.
and again, this was so I'm not gonna take credit for starting your business, but I remember, um
Why not?
okay, well, I'm gonna totally take credit for starting your business, and this was I was in Vancouver again, in, like, was it 2022 or 2023 at a Subaru Dealer 20 meeting, and, we went out for drinks somewhere Cole Harbor-ish,
Yeah,
and
or Lyft.
Lyft. That sounds right. That sounds right. And, and the server came over, had overheard part of our conversation and was like, "What do you guys do?
Yeah, what are you idiots talking about?
What do you do?" And I'm like, "What do you think we do?" And she looked at me. I was probably wearing this hat or a version, an identical hat, and she's like, "Do you work in music?" I'm like, "No, it'd be great if I did, though. Like, that would be a lot of fun, probably even more fun." Um, but no, and we were brainstorming at Lyft the what if, someone were to take on the job of deploying GA4 for dealers because no one was doing that yet, and that we were on a deadline to get that done, and I was like, "I'm concerned." I'm concerned that dealers are not gonna have analytics data, and I'm like, "And this is definitely a job. Like, there's definitely a thing to do to deploy GA for dealers at auto groups and maybe a rapid dashboard around it. I'm like, but you'd need an act too. Like you need to follow very quickly with a we don't just do GA4 deployments, we also do other things. Yes, exactly. That's that's what you
Cut
do.
grass.
Cut grass. We also yeah, we will carry your couch. We'll deliver furniture for you. Um, something, anything. Car wash, I don't know. Something a dealer might find useful. So, uh, yeah, so how did that start? Talk to me about the proto autograph, which wasn't called autograph. Had a
No, yeah, back in those days, whole different name, quantify. So yeah, the etymology of quantify slash autograph goes way back, and I won't bore the listeners, but as too much, hopefully. But back in 2014, I was working for a company called Speed Shift Media, and I met some interesting cats. So I was working a sales role, and these guys were working in this area behind me. And then one day, they, they decided to all get mechanical keyboards. And so it went from a quiet, nice place to work to like the most hellacious, loud, clacking sounds of all time. It was like clack, 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 clack. It was so loud I had to get like noise canceling headphones just to be able to do my job. But these guys were interesting. So I was over in their little zone and I was like, yeah, cool keyboards, guys. I actually fucking hate them, but why do you have these? And they're like, bro, they're like, do you know how hard it looks like we work with the sound coming out of these machines? I was like, wait a minute, this is all to fake that you look like you look working really hard. And they're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, I need to know these guys. This is genius level stuff I need to learn about. So that was a bunch of guys, but Brian and Joe, my co-founders, were the core in that area. And then, we had Speed Shift did a fantastic job of building culture. So we had like really fun events every month, and we'd go out and have some cocktails. They're both into music and DJing, and like we just got along like a house on fire. And we basically saw that there was a massive issue in automotive of like not having clear, unbiased, transparent, real time data. And we saw that firsthand coming from a number of different parties working with customers we were working with. And we thought, hey man, like there's got to be something here because this seems really unfair to the dealers, and there's a big opportunity. So that we started kicking those ideas around for like a while. And Joe and Brian basically came to me and they're like, "Hey, Steve, like we think we've gone to something, and we need someone who can talk to dealers, and we don't want to do it. And you seem to be somewhat okay at that, so we should talk."
Is is that still true today? Are they still like they don't wanna talk to the dealer clients at all?
I think it's the classic thing. I think they do a way better job, and the dealers like talking to them more because they're in the weeds, right? So, yeah, but I mean, that's my role, I guess. But yeah, I drag those guys into so many meetings that they don't need to be in, don't want to be in, but yeah, they do an amazing job. They're like super dedicated. They're experts in what they do. Joe's been doing this the longest. I think he started working with Trader like 15 or 16 years ago, so he's worked on every platform. He's set up thousands of dealers. Like there's very few problems Joe has not already seen and solved. So for that reason, I like to rope him into stuff, although I'm sure he hates it. And they're both, very, very nice and kind with their time. And Brian, the same thing.
I have a new, um I have many new favorite songs, but I love there's this song that because I now spend an inordinate I would do this anyway, but I spend an inordinate amount of time on YouTube looking for new music, and this has always been a favorite thing of mine to do. The platforms have changed over the years, but YouTube is arguably the best place to do this from a discovery perspective, in my opinion. Uh, so I go and find all this new music, and now I write this stupid second letter or newsletter on music. I found this Luke Combs, Bailey Zimmerman song called "Backup Plan."
Okay.
So it's a country song, and country is not usually my jam either, but this song is
No.
fantastic. And one of the lyrics in the song is this line that it's like, "If you're doing what you love and it kills you, you can live with that all day long."
I like it.
Right?
I like
And
it.
so maybe that's what you're doing to, Joe and Brian. You're
Yeah.
but
And I will say on the music side, thank you. First of all, I would never have found the song Sriracha by Heidi Montag, which is a banger. Wow. Unbelievable. And that came out of the gym this morning. So thank you for that.
in the playlist, in the
Yes, in the Spotify playlist, which was that my idea?
it was your idea. Yeah, I was already making a YouTube playlist, and you're like, "Bro, could you just make this easier for me? Could you?"
Yeah, I was at the gym having to hit the YouTube link every time. Like,
Oh, such a burden, that other app, opening up the other app on your that's already on your phone. But no, I get it, and that's why and I have other people who also have said thank you for either the Spotify, or I found that other service that allows you to port the playlist out of whatever and into whatever you're listening to. So if you
oh,
want to
nice.
take it from there's a tool for everything now. If you want to take the playlist out of YouTube and put it in Apple Music or Amazon, it tries to match the songs as much as it can, but there are just some tracks that don't live anywhere else, which is why, again, I use YouTube, not because I used to work at Google, but because there's just more music there because they're independent artists, like those weird artists I find each week who only have like 19 subscribers. Weirdly, their song isn't on Spotify, so it doesn't match up properly.
Well, I owe you a gratitude because, yeah, I was driving with my wife the other day, and she was like, "Wow," she's like, "Steve," she's like, "Your music's getting good. Like, you've got some songs here I haven't heard before." And I was like, "Oh, thanks." And I was waiting, I was like, "Hang on, does that mean before it was really bad?" And she's like, So you've broadened my horizons, so thank you."
mission accomplished. And this that was born out of, I mean, again, it's just a thing I love doing, and it started because I was writing the automotive newsletter, and one of my former Google colleagues was like, "Hey, dude, this is great, but where's the music? I know how much you love music, and I think you knew this, but like during COVID, in our auto team meetings, um, I was doing a like name that tune with my like podcast multi-track setup here. I would do a like 4 or 5 song name that tune on around a theme. I would try and pick a theme and be like, all of these songs are from this era or by this family of artists or what genre, whatever. And so he was like, "Where's the music?" And so I started to include that in the newsletter, and then it started taking up too much space, and I broke it out a separate post, and eventually I was like, "Fuck it, this is a separate newsletter."
Send it.
And my the best part about that is that I've now had 2 people like I love writing both newsletters, but all of my thought and effort goes into the automotive newsletter. And whenever someone starts the conversation with something like, "Oh, I love your newsletter," I'm like, "Oh, thank you. I put a lot of work into that." And it's like, "Did you see that thing about blah, 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 OEM, blah, 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 whatever?" And they're like, "No, I mean your music newsletter."
Nice.
I'm like, "Oh, I didn't even know you were subscribing to that, but okay."
That's amazing. I
Yeah,
love it.
that's happened twice in recent months or weeks, and
That's a cool feeling, though. That's amazing.
it's unexpected now,
Yeah.
and I'm on the I'm close to starting newsletter number 3. So,
Okay. I can't wait to hear about this one.
you
Are we revealing it now or is it secret?
oh, I guess so. I haven't there you can sign up now, but there's no content. I haven't said anything yet. I am gonna do a AI newsletter.
Nice.
There are a lot of them out there, but I think I'm gonna add other commentary, other color to the conversation around AI, and I like the Change Optimist. Change Optimist was a really hard name for me to come up with for some reason. It then became very obvious when I picked it. This one was like it was right there, but it's so esoteric, so weird. I don't know if it'll work. I think it works in that it's kind of its own brand, and so when if it ever became popular and people actually subscribe to it, and or if I actually sent anything, because I haven't done that yet, um, it would hold its own. I'm calling it Flip the Tortoise.
Flip the tortoise.
Flip the Tortoise, because
The tortoise.
are you f
Think about
are
that.
you familiar? Do you know the reference? No? You don't? In Blade Runner, right, the one replicant is being interviewed and being
Yes.
provoked,
Wow, that is a deep reference. I like it.
and he's being provoked by the interviewer, and he's like, "What's a tortoise?" And he's like, "It's like a turtle. I've never seen a turtle." Like, they do this whole back and forth, and he's like, "The tortoise is upside down. It's flipped in the desert, and you don't help it." "I don't help it. Why don't I help it?"
Yeah.
Right? So
He
there's a
goes
lot,
berserk, right? And
and he goes, "Let me
treats him.
tell you about my mother."
Yeah.
"Yeah,
Yeah.
my mother? Let me tell you about my mother." And then he shoots the guy.
I like that.
Um, so there's like a real Blade Runner, you know, replicant AI kind of angle there because I feel like the Terminator stuff is overdone. But I'm a big fan of turtles. I'm a big fan of turtles, and maybe when I retire, I'm going to become part of the Turtle Watch at the Bruce Peninsula National Park and keep an eye on the turtles out there.
Well, I'll tell you, my cousin Ray is a conservationist who works with turtles all the time, and so we are also big fans. But I wanted to say, Change Optimist, incredible name. But I was gonna, um, you know, come up with the antithesis, the constant pessimist.
Ew. I mean, have at it. Have at it, Haas.
I don't know who would listen to it,
Yeah, I
but
mean, a lot of people, but, people love the rage clicks. The rage clicks are a big deal. I and it's sometimes hard. I write a piece and I'm like, "That is not optimistic." It's not.
yeah.
I'm like, "That is strangely not very optimistic of me." Um, but I also think part of the optimism includes just, like, the straight shooter, the honesty, the, like, "This is I'm calling it the way I see it." And there is probably a bright side or brighter side. I do try and find that in whatever I'm talking about. But um, It's not always obvious even to me what that is sometimes.
It's one of my favorite reads of the week. So, if listeners, if you haven't subscribed, every Sunday, I look forward to it. Last newsletter was fantastic. The amount of stuff coming out on the tech world is mind-boggling.
Mm.
Just getting crazier every day.
Well, and I had the idea for the piece about concrete for a year when I saw the article about the net zero concrete getting sold out. And I was like, okay, this is this is the week. And then while I was researching something else, I found the other piece of research, the AI piece, where they were looking at material science to find a better way to make concrete. And I was like, I guess this is concrete week. This is the hard thing about hard things. Um, but we don't need to talk about me and my obsession with writing newsletters. We've now devoted too much time to that. But this is how our conversations go. Like this is just like this could just be any other Tuesday, really,
It could be.
for us. Um, so you speed shift to lead box to quantify autograph. Strangely, without the auto, there's no speed or shift in there. There's no it's definitively less dealer related. I'd made the joke that there should be like a automotive, um, especially for dealers, like an automotive name generator that throws in like one of the like a gear or a shift or a speed or a dealer. Like there's just so you just mix them all together and you get like
Yeah, I mean, I've got firsthand experience. Like when we started the business, it was called Quantify, as you know, and so Quantify was doing its thing, and it's funny how naive I can be in business. So we're doing our thing, and it's going great. And I came home from a camping trip in the summer, and I had registered mail delivered. And typically in the past, that means the checks arrived because many of our customers still prefer to pay with checks, and the larger ones come registered. So I was like, fantastic. So I got a check. This is unreal. Well, money's in the bank. Here we go. And I opened it and it was not a check. It was cease and desist and the threatened lawsuit from like a stock trading platform based in New Jersey called Quantify. And what had happened was another business called Quantify, because there's many Quantifies. And we had registered, we'd done all the steps appropriately as you're supposed to get incorporated. Another one in Canada had tried to trademark the name in the US, which set their flags running. Sorry, they tried to trademark it in Canada, which alerted them in the US. So they came guns blazing for anybody with anything related to Quantify. I talked to our legal representatives, and they had a trademark person office, and basically they said, "Listen, Steve, man, like they did $500 million in revenue last year. They're gonna take you to court and destroy you, bleed you dry. It's not even worth fighting. Just change your name." And so he said, "Okay." That is a nightmare from many standpoints. But the first is coming up with a new name and coming up with something that's not already trademarked and something that's not already taken. So I put months and months of effort into that process and landed on autograph. So and it's interesting because a lot of our clients are like, "Oh, I actually don't like your name. I like your old name better." I'm like, yeah, fair. I wasn't allowed to keep it. But when you think of it as it's autos and automotive and a graph, because we make graphs, a lot of times they're like, "Oh, oh, like autograph. Okay, now
oh, I
maybe get it." Like
oh,
I've been that conversation more times than I can count.
could you put it on a graph for me?
I
Could you?
could put it on a
Um, I was gonna say something. What was I gonna say? Oh, which I think led me to tell you at that time, which, my own personal learning, from now many years ago, you're a real company when you get your first lawsuit. Like, you've you matter as a business when someone decides you're significant enough that they wanna sue you for something, and, as the story goes, when I worked at shop.ca how many years ago? This was we launched in 2012, so 13 years ago. The day we launched, we got a cease and desist letter. The day we tried to sell something, we got our first. It wasn't our last, but it was our first. And And every time we would get one, that was the you're a real company.
The funny thing was as well, we were just getting started. So when I built my Google My Business profile, I put in my cell phone, my personal cell phone. Now the other quantifier, and there's many, but the one that we hit the most is like a subprime lender in Alberta. But we were outranking them, or like our Google My Business was, I guess. So I got calls all the time. And it was like, "Hey, can you tell me what I owe on my banknote for my car?" And I was like, "I'm sorry, you called the wrong quantifier. You've got to call the other guys. I have no idea." They're like, "Just tell me what I owe, man." I'm like, "I do not know. This is not that business. I'm sorry."
It is it still your phone number? Because
It is.
that's hilarious. See, I opted for a 1-800 service to,
Probably
just to
worth the money.
collect, yeah, because like, for less than $100 a year, you can have a mailbox and a 1-800 number that just collects those
No, I
voice
just leave
notes.
it out to the internet. Anyone could call me anytime.
I think I've only really received 1 phone call, and it was they got the number wrong. I think they got the number wrong. They thought I was selling something, like, they thought I was selling a used vehicle, which was both interesting but wrong, and I wasn't, and they were in the middle of somewhere in the States, and they're like, "Yeah, I'm really interested in your Chevy blah, blah, blah," and I'm like, "I, A, have never owned a Chevy, and B, I'm definitively not selling one right now, but thanks for the call. Thanks for the call. Great to talk. Good talk." And now Autograph, so you did the GA thing. You helped out with all of those dealers who needed help with GA.
Yeah, black swan moment, honestly, and it's one of those things, like, we had spent years meeting at least 2 or 3 times a week for hours, kicking around ideas. What are we gonna do? How are we gonna do it? Like, from everything from food delivery services to, whatever, like, how can we start a business and make some money? But always pretty much focused on automotive and data, and then it's one of those things, and a message I give to any, people who are trying to start their own thing, like, to get lucky, you have to be putting in the work, and we've been putting in a lot of work with no return, literally. But we enjoy each other's company, and we like to meet. And my wife probably thought we were nuts, and she's like, "What are you guys even talking about? Like 12 hours a week?" And we're, yeah, stuff. And then a black swan moment. Google and GA Universal Analytics turns to J4, and we're kind of on the precipice of being able to really help a lot of people with that. And then, yeah, you have a lunch with you and you say, "Hey, this might be something." And all of a sudden, we're in the right place at the right time. And that's how things happen. And that's how it happened for us.
It's fantastic. But that's not where you've stopped. So I haven't seen the new product, and I know you and I, and some of our other friends, we probably talk too much about AI. Like, probably, again, this is one of those our wives think we're crazy, absurd, obsessed for no good reason. Have you flipped the tortoise? Flip the tortoise. Um, what's, what's going on now with Autograph? What does Autograph do now? What would you say you do here,
What
Steve?
do I do around here? That's a good question. So I think, just for a little background, basically we've built like enterprise level reporting software for the automotive industry, and we've done that for the last couple of years. Allows the dealership to aggregate all their data in one place and get a clear view of what's going on with their analytics, advertising, marketing, third party sites, inventory, DMS, a number of different data sources. But what our goal had always been was moving quite a bit beyond that, because, to be quite honest, as the owner of a dashboard company, I did not like dashboards, which is a really weird place to be. We all realized we could go much deeper, right? So it's kind of an innovator's dilemma type of thing. But 2 years ago, we're at NADA Dallas, and Joe and Brian were, some of those vendors have the massage stands where you can get a massage in the conference. And so they went and were doing that, which I thought was amazing, because I don't know if I would ever consider doing that, but whatever. And so they were having the massage, and I guess Joe just comes up with this idea, and he's so excited, but he can't tell me there. It's too dangerous. There's too many people around. So we go, like, later that night outside of the bar, around the corner in the alley, and he's like, "Guys," he's like, "I've got it. It's called the banger." And I'm like, "Joe, what is the banger?" And he's like, "The banger is we're going to take all the best questions and sort of things that our customers are looking for, and we can have it all predetermined in our platform, so you could come and just quickly answer the questions that are most commonly asked. And we'd have to do that with, a system of drop downs and, like, kind of like old school way of setting it up. It'd be clunky as hell, but it will give them answers quicker, and it'll give the most common answers quicker, and it'll, sort of aggregate the best ideas. And we're like, oh, this is fucking genius. Like, we are set. Let's do it. So we start building that. And then lo and behold, we spent a year working on that project and getting it sort of where it needed to be. And then a little something called OpenAI gets dropped. And it's like, holy fucking shit. Forget everything we just did. That's all junk. But the framework of what we did was not. Like, the data foundations were there, which is super important. It gave us a really big head start, I feel, to then start building on that, which we've been doing now for over the last year and a half. So, yeah, to answer your question, basically building a tool that allows anyone at the dealership with no training to ask very sophisticated, complicated questions to multiple data sources and get instant answers.
And you called it the banger? You really should have called it the banger.
The
Like, I think
banger. So internally, it's still called the banger. In Basecamp, when we set someone up, it says banger onboarding. I'm like, guys, we have to change this fucking name. This is not good. The product is called Ada, the Autograph Intelligent Data Analyst. And yeah, so that's an internal name that'll need to change. But the idea was still there. And I mean, like, I think back to that with so much fun memories because we were so fucking excited. Like, we just thought we had discovered lightning in a bottle, and like we were gonna, change the industry. We were geniuses, and we didn't. But that's the excitement you have of the roller coaster on this entrepreneurial ride. But with Ada now, with the AI piece, like, I truly believe this will redefine how automotive industry works with data. It already is, and it's just incredibly powerful tool that unlocks all of this information that people can't really get access to without it.
right, right. I mean, and I wanna call out 2 things here that are, one marginally relevant and one not relevant at all. But again, that's how our conversations often go. Um, One is, normally my intention with this podcast was never is not to, although I wanted it to be interesting for people who work in automotive. I did not, and I do not want to have what I describe as like the regular, automotive talking heads on as guests. There's already a lot of podcasts that do that. Or they have podcasts of their own, and awesome, cool, let them do that. My concept, my idea was, let's bring other ideas to automotive, and then let's also create you know, an audio format that is in the same vein, but maybe even funner, hopefully, than what I do in the newsletter. And so because of that, I should have never invited you. That's what I'm saying. I should have never had you on. But the other is, you use the word roller coaster, right? Which last year I inundated you with. I think I was explaining this to somebody else recently, and they're like, "You're so you're so delightfully insane." Like, they were like, "You what? You did what?" And this was the every usually was it Wednesday or Thursday? I would send you a photo around like 4:30, 5 p.m. every Thursday or so, and it was the photo of me, on a roller coaster at Canada's Wonderland
Uh,
because I got the premier package at Wonderland, and I would be driving down from the college where I've been teaching, and in the winter, I didn't really see Wonderland because it was cold and miserable. I was just trying to get home. But then as spring came around, I saw Wonderland. I'm like, I love roller coasters. I should get a pass. And so I got the like free parking, and I would just wheel up after teaching, and I would go and take my premier pass and just badge in, and deadline to one roller coaster, use my fast pass that I was given for that day, and get on the ride right away, ride my one roller coaster. I paid for the photo package, and then I would send you the photo.
and I remember having so many. I was sitting with friends or like family or whatever, and I'd be like, "Hey, check this out!" And it'd be a picture of you on this sick roller coaster. They're like, "What the fuck is that?" I was like, "Oh, this is my friend Matt. He likes to like those and send me pictures." What? Oh my god!
Yeah.
I love.
Yeah. So, you know,
But I get it. I do get it 'cause, at Speed Shift, we worked right by Canada Games Pool, which is an amazing pool. It's since been taken down, but one of the features was this wild water slide, at, like, a public pool, which is, I don't know, kinda rare, I think, and I would bring my, swim shorts to the office, and if I was on a real shitty day, I would go to Canada's Caves Pool and ride the water slide because you can't ride the water slide and be having a bad day. It worked every time. And I get off that and feel happy and mindset change and back to work. It worked like a charm.
I agree. The other best part, like, the other thing that was very spectacular, that I don't think you've benefited from, but my wife did, was it was, like, the Edward Norton character in Fight Club when he was doing all the flights to go do the insurance assessments. He described the individual people he would meet on a plane as like single serving friends because he would meet them once and then never see them again. And so the number of weird interactions I had with individual people who are like, especially children, like, especially, which sounds very inappropriate, but because they would look at me in line alone at the roller coaster and just be like, "Sir, why are you here? Like, why are you here at the roller coaster
Wearing your
by
Nine Inch
yourself?
Nails
What
hat.
wearing your Nine Inch Nails hat, looking like you just came from work, like looking like a collared shirt on, and like, why are you here?" Or you end up sometimes got depending on the ride, you get slotted with someone, and so you'd be waiting for the ride to take off, and the person would be like, "Hey, blah, blah, blah," and and usually it's the other single, and I'd be like, "Where are your parents? Like, what are you doing here? Hello." It seems very irresponsible, but, yeah, there were some really entertaining conversations, but also some great, groups of people who were like, "You should stay with us." I actually bumped into some agency people, that worked for one of the OEMs one day, and they're like, "Rowdy, what the fuck are you doing here?" I'm like, "Oh, no, nothing.
It's my Wembley
Roller
thing.
coaster. Yeah, I stop in every." They're like, "What?" I try and stop every week and ride one roller coaster. That's it. That's all I'm doing.
So do you still ride the snake, as Jim Carrey would say,
Ride
the
this.
coaster?
Yeah, I haven't done it yet. So even last year, I did it kind of from late June, so around now onward as a birthday gift to myself because my
I
birthday
love
is
it.
in like a week, and um, so I've been debating whether I'll do that again. I think I will. I think I will. They have a new roller coaster. They have a new yeah,
Gotta test it out.
I gotta test it out. It's not open it wa well, I think it is open now, but they were delayed in releasing it, so I was not, so it's been in the back of my mind, but, I was also like, I can wait for the new coaster to get up and running before I
I think we should go together. I couldn't tell you the last time I rode a roller coaster. It would have been the legendary wooden Vancouver roller coaster at the PNE of Vancouver, which is sick. But that's probably 2 decades ago.
Is it still there? Do they still have that?
It's it's still there. I mean, I haven't been there, but I would have heard about it because it's so legendary. The city would be in uproar. And that is a fun coaster. It's
And,
gotta be 100 years old at least.
like, and I have this, I get obsessed with certain things, where I get very fixated on certain things, and roller coasters is one of them. And so even when, like, if we're planning a trip somewhere, like, one of the questions is there a theme park close
No
by?
kidding.
And and that's usually my question, and my wife is reluctant to admit that there is. Um, and so as a result, when we went to visit some friends in Paris, I'm like, we had one day we were gonna do an excursion, but got canceled for some reason. I'm like, "Well, this would be a great opportunity to go to Euro Disney." So,
I guess you can't go to Orlando. It'd take you 2 months to get out of Orlando.
been there. Thank you, Kuhol. Yeah, so I've been to 3 Disneys. I've been to Orlando with Google. I was in the Anaheim, the LA, California Disney, and I've been to, although they didn't pay, well, I guess they indirectly paid for the trip to Paris, but it wasn't a work trip in any way. And while we were there, we jumped over to, and a part of this was it was like a one-upmanship because I have a lot of the American Googlers were obsessed with Disney, like obsessed with it. and so I wanted to prove a point that I'd been to more Disney parks than they had. So
Wow.
I
Bigger
went
fan.
yeah, I went to the Euro Disney, but also Dubai. Dubai, I'm like, "Well, of course we gotta go to Ferrari World,"
Of course.
and Maryland's like, "Why are we going to Ferrari World? Not to ride a Ferrari." You can, there's actually a experience you can do, you can get in a Ferrari. I'm like, "No, we need to ride the roller coaster
Of course.
that is the fastest roller coaster in the world." So yes, we did that.
So do you have a favorite coaster, like, that would take the cake, or does it depend on categories or
Well, I would say I love the, Yukon Striker at Canada's Wonderland. It is a perfect coaster. The drop is phenomenal. The experience is good. It's a modern coaster, so everything about it is fantastic. So it's certainly my favorite here in Canada. Um, in coasters you could drive to or go to anywhere in North America, um, although the ride is short, King Ka, which is in Six Flags, in New Jersey, is was a record holder for the tallest roller coaster. I don't know if it still is. It might have been eclipsed recently, but it the ride is short. Like the ride is over in like 35 seconds, but you go over because it's so fast. It's a maglev propulsion. We're losing people by the second here by the end. The fall off on this particular podcast is just staggering. Like the drop of a roller coaster, really. Um, but no, it's a maglev propulsion, so it shoots from a straight line and then it goes up this
holy shit.
hill is not the right word. It's more like I describe it as like here in Toronto, as if you had a roller coaster that was as tall and went over the top of First Canadian Place, which is one of the
Holy cow.
tallest office towers in the city, tallest buildings in the city. It is that tall and it goes straight up and then straight down. Um, and then has a couple little hills and comes back to the main starting point. So it's a crazy experience of a roller coaster, um, because it is so tall. It's like you have these moments of fear where you're like, "This isn't right. Like I should be belted in here way more securely
Right.
to be free flowing at like 40 stories tall." But yeah,
Now,
so
did Canada, just to round that off, the scariest one, I think, actually, isn't the most intimidating, but it was, and I wonder if Canada Wonderland has this. It was called either Crazy Mouse or Wild Mouse, and it was low, but it was always feeling like it was gonna rip off the tracks and does U-turns the whole way down.
like I know the ride you mean, and I think it's also like it's one of those common it's the Carney roller coaster.
That's right.
Right, because and that's what makes it feel completely
Unsafe.
unsafe because it's like they just unfolded this and screwed it together with an Allen key, and that guy clearly looks stoned, and
Oh, yeah.
and he's operating this ride. I don't know if we're gonna live. Like, I don't know.
Well,
We didn't get that ride in Wyerton when they, used to have a fair, on one of the long civic holiday weekend in town. We would get other rides, but it was the same experience. You're like, I'm pretty sure they just slapped this Ferris wheel together in about an hour and didn't really
oh, yeah,
like,
yeah.
this cannot be safe. Like, this cannot be, to code. But,
My sister took me to the Peony, and we're standing in line for another legendary ride, the Zipper. If you remember that, you're locked in a cage that goes all crazy. And we're standing in line next to the Zipper, and it was operating and then stopped to let someone out, and, like, a 2.5 foot monkey wrench fell from the top, like a 15-20 pound piece of metal, slammed into the ground right next to the line where people were standing, and my sister goes, "Yeah, we're not riding this fucking thing today."
there are a lot I mean, they're machines, they break down, but, newer coasters are better, and I don't like the spinny rides. Like, I'm less interested in just spinning or like, swinging around and around and around. I don't like I'm too old for that shit, but I still love a roller coaster. I still love, like
Oh, we gotta go, man.
we gotta go. Is that before or after the Foam Fest? Do we go to the Foam conference and then
Oh,
hit
do they have a coaster near Foam Fest?
I'm sure there's gotta be a Six Flags close by, like, that's America for you. Uh,
I'll ask my wife what she thinks.
that's a bad idea. That's the first time I've ever heard you say that. Um, no, I'm joking. That's a joke. I think I have heard you say that. So, we mentioned this, but one of the other things we talk about all the time, not normally roller coasters, but that was good segue, like a good diversion there. Not even segue. That wasn't a segue about anything. Um, what are you seeing? What are you using? So you sent me a list of things, so I already know. But um, AI, what are you using AI for that is somewhat unconventional that the average person is probably not using AI tools for? Didn't
Yeah, probably a few things, honestly. So I talk a lot with Nick Bazinet, and we talk a lot about prompt engineering. And so we've gone pretty deep down the rabbit hole of prompt engineering, um, which for Tracy is basically coming up with different types of prompts, trying to elicit different responses based on a number of different factors. So one of the ones that absolutely blew my mind recently was, and I use AI a lot. So I've got years of data in there, and there's a bunch of security stuff around that we can get into if you want, but years of data from my personal life, my business life, all sorts of stuff. So it needs that to have, you know, interesting answers. So if you just signed up today and start asking it introspective questions, it's not going to do much for you because it doesn't have the content. But one that blew my mind was going down the path and asking things like, okay, based on everything you know about me today, what are the five biggest blind spots that I have in my life? And, riff on that, explain those a little bit. And it absolutely blew my fucking mind, and it ripped my head off and, like, kicked it down the street. It was so good. And then I went deep down each of those different channels, and I'm like, "Okay, so this is now a therapist, like, in the greatest term of the word." And absolutely, completely eye-opening. So that's one way, I think. And Nick and I go deep on that, and we send each other these crazy prompts all the time, and it's interesting. Some are good, some are bad. That's one piece. Um, I was I took a 20-year hiatus from golf, and then I needed a summer sport because I'd played 20 back-to-back seasons of hockey. I was like, I need a break from hockey. Okay, let's go back into golf. So, dust off the clubs, and then I'm banging around and thinking like, how far do I hit a 7 iron? Like, I have no fucking idea. No, I can't remember any of this stuff. It's been 2 decades. So, start building an AI golf caddy and recording all my swings, all my shots. Where does it go? How's am I hitting it? What's going on? And so now when I approach a shot, I can say, "Hey, I'm 165 yards out. Wind's blowing left to right. I'm in the rough, and it's a bit of a downhill lie with negative elevation on the shot. What club should I hit?" And it gives a really good answer. It's like having a caddy in your phone. And so all the guys I play with, they've all built them. And so now, you've got a little more information when trying to play. So that's another one.
is that just textual? You're not using, like, visual search yet on that?
Not yet. I don't. You know what? I haven't searched, but I'm sure if someone hasn't built one yet, someone's going to build an AI golf caddy, and you're going to take a picture because I know there's VR goggles for putting now, which are absolutely mind bending, and it reads all the contours, knows the distance, knows the speed, shows you the line. I mean, you look like a idiot wearing them right now because they're like the size of a helmet, but
You mean
all these things are coming.
more of an idiot.
More of an idiot.
Listen, more of an idiot wearing that.
So that's one. Yeah, from a mental health perspective, there's a lot there on journaling, reflection, processing, and challenges you're dealing with.
Talk to
Like
me about that one. How do you use AI for journaling? How do you use AI for journaling?
instead of using a journaling app, you could use GPT. I'm using GPT.
So you're just talking to it?
Yeah, you can talk to it, type to it, upload it however you want the interface to be, and then using that as sort of a repository for keeping those pieces, and then asking and getting feedback on what it thinks. On that note, just to switch gears a little bit, so using one as a dream analyst. So I had a very vivid dream this morning, is super interesting. And the problem with dreams typically is you wake up and then within not much time it's gone. So right away, okay, enter all the details that I can recall into that, give it context around what's happening in my life today, and start to get some ideas of what did this dream mean. And it's not gospel by any means, but it's recorded, it's tracked, it's going to have a historical context, and you can really start to get a better picture of what's going on with that, which is super fun.
You say it's not gospel, but I was having a conversation with somebody else earlier today, and they were talking about how there is an active effort for AI researchers to involve like theologians, priests in the conversation around AI, and that there's sort of a weird, uh, I'm just making this up, but like God brain conversation around what does it mean for our understanding or lack thereof of anything that might be, you know, omnipresent, omniscient kind of, and is the AI a reflection of that? But and I don't know if that's true or not, but so I'm just throwing that out there. But the other one more recently that I saw a piece of research on was a group of AI researchers, archaeologists, and um, theologians of various sorts got together to analyze the Bible. They built an LLM for the
Wow.
Bible. And I think they're still actually a little scared to release the results because
Yeah.
it unearthed a lot, like based on language patterns and using as much original source material of older texts, not your King James version or newer rewritten versions of the Bible. They're like, actually, maybe it's only five authors. Like maybe it was all written by basically, you know,
Right.
three or four people, and that in its original state, and then it's been rewritten and translated and retranslated and simplified and made more human readable, with fewer these and thous, etc. So there are things like that that are like that's a untapped space that I think people are not ready for. Like that's like
Yeah.
one of
Oh,
those
I agree.
when people are not ready for that conversation. People are not ready for the what do I do when it takes my job conversation, let alone the also AI is God. And like what if AI is God conversation, or if AI can deduce that certain things that we believe for a long time may or may not be true. Um, you're probably not ready for the answer one way or the other.
Another couple of quick ones is, so as a travel companion, like I used it initially for a trip a couple months ago with my wife and some friends, and really good for like, hey, I like this type of hotel, I like this type of area. Um, I have so many days in this country. What are the things that we should see based on what I like? And that is really good, like very good. And then most recently I went to DC and I took that to the next level. So I did all that stuff. Where should I stay? Where should I go? But hey, I've got a meeting here, 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 this time, this time, this time. I'm interested in these topics. Which of the like 30 museums should I see? And when I'm at those museums, what parts of it should I see? How should I schedule my day? So on and so on. And it did a outstanding job, like, incredible, and the amount of time I would have had to spend researching that would have been nuts, and now it knows those behaviors I like and those things I like, and I think that's where we're headed is we're all gonna have these AI agents, and all the businesses we interact with will have these AI agents, and they're gonna instead of me going to aircanada.com and going to hyatt.com, I just tell the AI agent, "I wanna go here at this time. This is what I like. This is my schedule. This is my wife's schedule. These are the events happening," and it will be able to just take care of all that.
I've kind of used this analogy almost every day this week, at least once, and that's the you know, and there are two stories. Quick, one was I was trying to get a list of for it doesn't matter why, but I was trying to get a list of every Kia dealership in Alberta, and so I went to the Kia website, and that was untenable. The store locator just it would let me find a location or a couple locations, but I couldn't find them all. And then
Right.
I went to Google Maps, and Google Maps, basically the same experience. Like I can find some and I can move around, but there was no way to validate that I had found them all. So then I'm like, well, Google is Google. So I went to Gemini. And so clearly they have all the data. And I asked Gemini to give me the list of Kia stores in Alberta. And Gemini said no. It didn't just try and get the answer
Was
wrong.
mad.
It was actually, well, it wasn't Matt very, those Googlers very polite. So it was like, I'm sorry, I can't help with that right now. Just like fucking
I'm
Google
busy.
Assistant. Yeah. I'm learning new things all the time. Um, so it wouldn't do it. And then I went to ChatGPT, same prompt, same question. And he's like, yeah, here you go. It was just like, and clearly the data is like they're gleaning it from maybe Google Maps or Microsoft Maps, which allows people to connect their two business profiles
Yeah,
to synchronize them. So, but anyway, it was just like, pa, 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 here they are, here are the addresses, here are the names of the stores. It was just there. And so that's
gotcha.
one. Crazy, right? Crazy. One story. The other is if you thought about what in the car buying experience, taking it back to our, I guess, what we do day to day ish. Um, if you talk about the micro moments that Google defined a few years ago around like these are the 5 questions that people want to get answered, sort of most of the time when they're buying a car. Probably you only need 3 of them answered to actually get to a decision. And, in the regular buying journey of like 2 months, you'd like spend a certain amount of work to answer one question, and then you'd get tired or bored or distracted or something, some cuter cat or better attractive person would distract you on Instagram Reels or TikTok and you'd be gone. You're not doing it anymore. Or you actually then have to like make a meal for your family or something, right? Like something stupid like making a meal for your family would get in the way and you can't actually buy your car that in that single seating. And so you take some time and it takes days or weeks to get to a conclusion about what to buy, what you want to pay, and where you're going to buy it. And now you can just go to ChatGPT and ask those 3 questions in one prompt even and get an answer down to it. Here is the vehicle in stock at this dealership, cutting out all of that other research. And again, I think this is like still tip of the spear, tip of the iceberg kind of stuff around how people are going to change their shopping behavior. I woke up angry, doesn't happen often, on Friday, and I went to Dealer Refresh and replied to like 8 forums in the
Oh
morning. Yeah,
no.
I don't know why. I had a like the reminder that something is happening in Dealer Refresh in my inbox, and I've never commented there before, but I've just like jumped onto this SEO thread and was like, I don't know why you guys are concerned about this. It won't matter in 12 months. Like I was like, this is all changing in 12 months in a pretty profound way.
Yeah.
And then they're like, that's not true, and blah blah blah. I'm like, listen, I'm like,
Listen.
listen, I'm like, ChatGPT is already in the source traffic for most dealers in the US. It's coming in Canada. And I'm like, if you're not on top of this, you're gonna lose a giant source of traffic to your website. And I'm like, it's not gonna happen overnight. And yes, SEO is still important. I didn't say it wasn't. I'm just saying that, we're gonna live in a different world 24 months from now. And in that world, maybe it's not as important as doing both, as the importance of doing both, being prepared for that world where you want your content indexed in a way that it's gonna show up in the LLMs. So
Yeah, at Web Summit, there was multiple talks on that topic of going from SEO to like, LLM SEO, whatever. I forget what they're calling it.
but AIO or yeah, S or G I
Geo. I
yeah,
think it's
G
Geo.
yeah, there's like a bunch of variations. I don't think they've settled. I haven't asked the AI what the answer is yet, so that we don't know the answer yet. But the other one, somebody commented on your Web Summit post, like what I learned was that AI is still unreliable and prone to making mistakes. And my comment to them, somebody, a mutual friend of ours, and this is not to disparage a mutual friend in any way, but my comment was, that sounds like most people I know, that they're consistently wrong and make a lot of mistakes like that.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't, I don't, I
funny.
don't know what the difference is between the AI and the average gets things wrong and makes mistakes. So
Yeah,
maybe
I agree. It's similar argument with like the autonomous driving, right? They're like, oh, I had an accident. Like, have you seen the stats on human driving? It's pretty bad. But I get it. I totally get it, and, I think one last use case, I think, which is the most recent and the most interesting. So I'm a huge fan of a gentleman named Mark McLeod. He runs a podcast called The Startup CEO. I was fortunate enough to get sent by New Ventures BC to SAS North in Ottawa 2 years ago, so I'm Speak Live, and he blew me away on a number of different levels. Very interesting guy, and definitely someone that you guys should follow. Anyways, I was fortunate enough to be the first sort of beta tester of his I'm gonna call it an AI avatar consultant. It's like an AI version of Mark where you can go and ask questions and have conversations. And so he's like, "Hey, Steve, this is brand new. No one's using it. Check it out." And holy shit. So it's powered by a company called Delphi.ai, which you can check out. I may have seen before. And I was gobsmacked. And the first conversation was 45 minutes of in-depth financial questions, fundraising questions, like into the minutia, weeds, details of things, to a degree that I was completely blown away and said, Mark, this is unreal. And he's giving me access now, and I'm his first customer. And we have many conversations about building culture at the business, about mental health, physical fitness, the life of a CEO, all sorts of stuff. And it is outstanding and asks me questions back. And it goes to a point where, I was talking to some friends about the movie Her, which I was a huge fan of that movie. And they're like, yeah, these nerds, they've no one to talk to and they're talking to AI. I'm like, well, let's dissect that a little bit. If that is the reality for someone and they maybe don't have someone to talk to for whatever reason, is it so bad that they have an AI companion that makes their life better? I don't think that's bad at all. I think it's fantastic because the alternative is nothing, which is awful. But it gets into a philosophical kind of question. So I'm an explorer. I want to learn about all this as much as I can, and this tool so far has been unreal.
I mean, I think there is man, there's so much stuff that could happen. And, I I was thinking, it's I had the thought of like, wouldn't it be great if I even had this thought this morning, like, it starts with the thought, wouldn't it be great if I could create like an AI version of my parents who are both deceased so I could
Exactly.
talk to them
Exactly.
now. And then I remember that at least one of them was a giant asshole and the other one didn't finish high school, and that although I loved them and they were fascinating and great people, maybe that's not a great use of AI. Like maybe that's not a great leverage. Like that's not a great application of but the concept makes sense.
Well,
Um,
yeah, I agree. And just on that, my wife and I went deep on that topic, and it was a very impactful conversation. Um, and it has a lot to do with grief, and there's lots there, right? But I was like, how cool would that be though for, like, let's say for my parents, I'm lucky are both with us, and they did this stuff and got set up and trained in Delphi, right? And then we don't have kids, but maybe we do at one point, and or someone else who'd never met them could interact with that. I think that's really cool. I think that's something that so people get a lot of value out of. But
or maybe in the future you'll have an AI robot child that is the amalgam of your two psyches.
that
The
would be
it'll
scary.
your collective Gmail history will be melded into the AI of one robot child, like in Artificial
There you
Intelligence,
go.
a shitty Spielberg movie. Um, Steve, we've been chatting for like, I mean, people don't know we were talking for like 30 minutes before we hit the record button, or that we were talking back and forth about preparing for this podcast as well. Um, First, thank you for being here. Thanks for doing this. Is there anything else you want to add before we um, do our Jerry Springer final thoughts? Because
Oh, I wish I had a canned Jerry Springer anecdote for you. Damn, I missed that. No, no, thanks, man. This has been great being on here. I mean, we could talk forever, obviously. So
so you first, okay. So just to end this recording, first we need to talk about the T-shirt you're wearing, which I made, which is typically for sale. This meeting is fucking bullshit. I was giving away a lot of stickers over the last couple of weeks. I've got a whack of stickers that I've been handing out places, and it's one of those sayings like, and it's like I think you got the OG version, which is like this is a public service announcement brought to you by Growdy.wtf.
that's
Um,
correct.
But now that's changed into the Change Optimist. But everyone loves the idea of the t-shirt. No one wants to wear it. That's
I got called out for wearing it today, actually. We're in a financial meeting and someone said, "You can't wear that shirt," you know? And I was like, "Well, maybe this meeting is fucking bullshit."
nah. If I can't wear this t-shirt, this meeting is definitely fucking bullshit. And I joked I was gonna wear this, um, but it's just too fucking hot in Toronto right now, so I didn't wear it. But you sent me this a long time ago, which looks a lot like a Nine Inch Nails shirt. Looks like a Nine Inch Nails logo, and underneath it says "Nickelback is nice." Nickelback is nice, or
Is it
neat.
nice or
Nickelback is
neat?
neat. Neat. Yeah, Nickelback is neat. Promise I can read. Um, which I like Nickelback. I'm willing.
So do I.
I'm a big enough man to admit it.
I
I
went to their
really
concert in Vancouver and they ripped the fucking roof off the place. It was amazing.
in the psychology of the collective hatred of Nickelback, I think is just fascinating. I think that's fascinating. I don't know what they've done wrong relative to any other rock band that's done
I
stuff as
think
good,
because I have friends like that. In fact, one walked out mid-concert, and I think they actually secretly love them or are just scared to admit it.
right? I mean, feelings, hard. Feelings are hard. That's the Jerry Springer final thought. Um, brother, thanks for being here. Thanks for doing this. And where will people find you? What's the autographanalytics.com? If they Google it, will they find
Yeah.
it? How's your SEO? Have you optimized it?
We're on the World Wide Web. If you are the viewfinder, Google my business, you can call my cell phone directly, I think still.
Perfect.
That should probably change. And
Get the
then
1-800 number. Get the 1-800 number. It's worth it.
yeah, and then, also LinkedIn. Trying to be pretty active on LinkedIn these days. So, yeah, Steve Barker, Autograph Analytics on the old LinkedIn, and, which is interesting because I didn't have any social media for, like, the last 10 years. Like, I was pretty ardent, against social media, but LinkedIn for business, gotta do it.
So no golf, no social media. Like, what are you trying to hide from? What kind of?
Yeah, that's an interesting question too, isn't it?
Um, Oh, we didn't talk about I don't know if you've used this, Bordy. Have you used Bordy?
No, I haven't.
Oh, oh my god, you're gonna love this so much. Um, so Bordy is a startup, and it describes itself as it's an AI agent. It's like an agentic agent, that is a super connector on LinkedIn that operates kind of outside of the structure of LinkedIn. So it uses the LinkedIn data of people who've shared their data with it. And then it surveys people's profiles. And if you'd like to be introduced to a type of person, you can call Bordy on the phone and ask it to introduce you to a sort of person.
Wow.
And I've used it in a lot of demos in my classes and presentations, blows people's minds. He will talk about other things. You don't have to just talk um, about connecting people, but like if you were looking for like a new software engineer or a new in Vancouver, or you were looking for like a social media marketing person anywhere in Canada, uh, Bordy could connect you with someone who might be offering those services. And
And this is
it's
just linkedin.com/company/BOARDY.
correct. Yeah. I demonstrate it all the time to people, and I've used it and it's been useful. I've met people through this service. And I think it's a really good example of what is possible. Like what is and even their website is hilarious. They're like, we've collected this money, we don't know what we're doing. Like they're like, we we have this investment money and we don't know what the product is. Like we don't know, we're not entirely sure what this is, but people want to write checks, and so we're kind of taking the checks because people are writing
It's
them.
amazing.
Is basically the tone of the investment page on Bordy, which is also hilarious. But yeah, it's a fascinating tool and it works surprisingly well. And even for things, I was in a dealer meeting and I was demonstrating to the leadership of like an auto group that they could maybe find service techs. I mean, it sort of assumes that the service tech is connected to Bordy. If they've not done the work to connect themselves to Bordy, and how would they know to do that? So they're not there, right? But Lots of other people are. Lots of other types of, entrepreneurs, startups, business people, people looking for work are there. And so it's a really interesting, useful application of AI right now that is seriously tangible. Like, not just like, I made this great image of you that looks like, the Terminator from Rise of the Machines, which I know is one of your favorite things to do, one of your favorite things to do with AI. Um, but no, you should check that out.
I'm gonna ask it. I'm like, listen, I'm looking for a roller coaster enthusiast who loves newsletters and podcasting and Nine Inch Nails and Nickelback, and see if it can dial you up.
So I it wasn't that query, but I was asking a particular query um, for someone in, Western Canada, and it did connect me with someone I knew. Like, it was that I'm
Amazing.
like, "Thank you, Bordy, but I already know them,
Oh, another guy.
that's not actually that helpful." But, and he was like, "Oh, sorry, Matthew." Yeah, he also has kinda like a Kiwi Aussie accent, which is
Nice.
for, reasons I don't know, but it's fantastic. It's just kinda
Soothing.
soothing, and it sounds trustworthy, if not
Yes.
for nothing else. Okay, um, 1 hour, 21 minutes, we should probably shut this shit down. Shut this shit down. Hopefully, your listeners, you're still listening, because Steve and I had a lot of fun things to say. And again, thank you, brother. We'll see you soon in the real world.
Anytime. And yeah, if you made it to this far, give me a call. We need to talk. But
If you listened this long, for
yeah,
the love of God, sign up for Grouty's newsletter and call Steve through his Google My Business
tell
profile. Yeah,
Sure.
it's
Okay.
called
Anytime, my friend. Thank you for the time. Appreciate it.